Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Creator News Live. So excited to have you here. And we've got one of my good friends. He's actually been on the show before. He wasn't live. We had to do a little switcheroo, and he actually was on. I just put him on the regular YouTube channel. But that was really popular. It's Ralph. You see him in the comments all the time. This is going to be so much fun because he is super smart and one of the best financial guys I know. I always ask him questions. So, Ralph, thank you so much, my friend, for joining us today.
Oh, dude, I'm so happy to be back. But what's funny is now this is twice Connor hasn't been here. Maybe there's some beef here. Yeah, there's some beef here. I don't know. It's not. I love Connor. So please share with Connor. There's no beef between him and I. So
that's right.
It's twice now. I'm just being funny, Jeff. But no, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Connor is actually on a boat. Like all my friends are on a boat. Lou Mangello's on a boat. Connor's on a boat. Paul is, I think, actually getting off a boat today, but then he's going to get on it with me next week. So this is going to be a fun show because I'm getting ready to go on a cruise, so I'm really relaxed and ready to go. We've got the amazing Zach Brown saying, "Good morning, gents." Zach, thank you so much. I'm going to be on Zach's show coming up in a little bit, so that will be fun. He is an amazing creator as well. So, and we've got the amazing Rich Graham, who is just saying, hey, y'all, watching us over on Facebook. Thanks, Rich, for popping in today. This is going to be a fun show. I know you're in a group with Ralph and me as well. I think he's in Dave's group, and so see Rich Graham quite a bit. Got to hang out with him a little bit at Podcast Movement last year, so that's pretty fun. So I've got so many great questions to ask Ralph, and if you guys would do me a favor, wherever you're watching from, would you just share this to your friends? We're talking about financial stuff today for creators, but this is really applicable to anybody running a business, I think, but Ralph is really focusing on creators, so I think it's really cool that we're talking about this because a lot of times we just don't talk about it, and I think as the creator economy grows, that this is going to be more and more important. So we'll be talking about why creators struggle with money. I'm going to go ahead and hit go on the podcast machine, and we will get started. Hello, folks. Welcome to Creator News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not. And this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media and so much more. Have you ever found out yourself unsure whether you're actually handling your money the right way as a creator? Do taxes feel confusing, stressful, or like something you only deal with once it's already a problem? Or maybe you're earning more than ever, but still wondering where it's all going. If any of that sounds familiar, you are in the right place because today we're excited to welcome my friend Ralph Estep Jr. back on the show. He's an accountant who works closely with creators to bring clarity and to finances that often feel overwhelming. Ralph has spent decades helping business owners build simple systems, avoid costly mistakes, and gain confidence with their money. He'll be sharing practical insights, real-world examples, and straightforward guidance that every creator should hear. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Creator News Live.
If your money feels hard to track and tax time always hits you back, Ralph Estep Jr.'s here today to help you build a better way.
Ralph, thank you so much for being on the show today, my friend.
Dude, that was awesome.
There you go. So
I love it. I look forward to those every week. When I'm able to tune into the show, I'm telling you, it is so much. It's so cool. So, Jeff, I know it's fun for you to do it, but it's also fun for us to watch it and enjoy that, man. That is awesome stuff. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well, thank you. And it's really funny. The people I have on my show now have been requesting it afterwards, so I'll make sure to send it to you. You can use it wherever you want because I know you've got podcasts galore, and we're going to talk about that. But yeah, because I didn't mention this at the start of the show. Ralph is not just like an accountant who specializes in creators. He is a creator. Like, he does a lot of stuff. He has 4 podcasts now? Ralph?
Yeah, correct. I'm doing 4 active shows, and I'm also a co-host and associate producer on Podcasting Morning Chat every morning on Clubhouse. So absolutely.
Wow.
I think I need a 12-step program for podcasting and content creation. But no, and I'm quite sure you're saying that, Jeff, because I'm not an accountant. I'm also a creator, just like all of you. So I get the stress. I get all those things.
Yeah, very, very cool. And before we get too much into the weeds about Finances Day, I want to do a big shout out to the people who help us make this show possible. It's our friends over at Ecamm. You can find out more about them by going to ecamm.com/Jeff. And one of the cool things is not only do they have this awesome software that they do, they're also putting together a brand new thing. It's their new Leap program. They're having a bunch of mini leaps this year. This one's on camera confidence, and it's actually starting up next week. Katie Fox is joined by professional coaches Amanda Chopra, another Brandon Hoffman, who is a late night host, an improv specialist. They're going to teach you groundbreaking techniques. You're going to shift your mindset around performance anxiety and practice speaking and interviewing in a low pressure environment. You don't even have to turn on your camera if you don't want to. You can just watch. But it's February 12th through the 13th. You can find out more about it at leap.ecamm.com. That's leap.ecamm.com. It is totally free. So make sure you guys go check that out. All right. So we're going to go back here to Ralph, and we're going to dive right into this. So one of the things, Ralph, I wanted to ask our audience kind of right away. Let me get this off the screen here. And, you know, one of the things we really struggle with as creators is our finances. We just don't talk about it. But I want to know that from the audience, like, what part of creator finances stresses you out the most right now? Is it like tracking income? Is it your taxes? Because that's coming up. Not having a steady paycheck, or is it all of the above? So let me know in the comments what are like really stresses you out as a creator when it comes to your finances. Is it that tracking the income, taxes, not having a steady paycheck, or all of the above? Let us know down below wherever you're watching from. But Ralph, we're going to be talking about, you know, creators having money issues. So you say that most creators don't actually have a tax problem. They have a system problem. So what does that look like in real life when somebody comes to you, a creator comes to you asking for help? What does that really look like?
The big thing that I've seen, and this is where being a creator now, when I came into this, I did have no clue about this, the ecosystem of creators, to be very honest with you. I come from a place where business makes sense. Everything adds up. Everything goes together. And my biggest thing is, Jeff, mixing business and personal stuff together. Honestly, that is the thing that when I meet with a new creator, I do that all the time now. The number one thing is they're in the fog. And I say they're in the fog because they've got everything mixed together. And when you're living in that, it's constant confusion because you can't tell what is yours and what's the business. And if you mentioned, is it tracking? Is it taxes? Well, if you're living in the fog, you have no idea where to even get started because it gives you this sense of false confidence. You check your balance, you're like, I'm fine. But what you don't know is you're not fine because some of the money in your account, number one, is not even your money. It needs to get paid to Uncle Sam at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And it gives, and you never know when to make decisions. Here's a great example of this. If you buy groceries and right next to it, you buy a mic stand and Adobe subscription, how in the world do you know what your business is doing or what your personal is doing? And so if your money's not separated, you never get to truth about what's really going on in your business. And that's what we really need to get to. The big takeaway, if you hear nothing else I say today, seriously, separate your money, business and personal. Now, the IRS or accounting lingo is called commingling. Mm-hmm. And basically what that means is that you have to keep things separate. You might be saying, okay, Ralph, who cares? Number one, how can you make a decision if you can't see the reality, if you're in the fog? Second thing is if you ever get audited from the IRS, they're going to have a great time with you because there's no separation. And things that you think are tax deductible, you're going to fight with them about because they're going to say, wait a minute, how do I know that this trip to Best Buy was for a microphone or for something like that? And it wasn't a PS4 or whatever. I don't know what the kids are playing with now, whatever these things are. And so that's the thing. So if you don't separate your money, you can't get the truth. You can't see clarity.
So I'm going to ask, because I'm going to use me as a real world example before I started talking with you. A lot of times I know for creators, we're scrabbling together stuff and we're having to buy equipment and all this stuff. And we like to put it on a credit card that gives us points or cash back or whatever. And I think that's what a lot of creators struggle with. They're like, well, I can separate it out later. Like everything's electronic. I can go and say, oh, that Best Buy was for this or this one was for that. And I can do it that way in whatever financial software that I get. So what do you tell creators who like, but I want to make points on my purchases and get as much bang for the buck as I can?
The reality is, I get it. I've got an American Express card I want to do the same thing with. But the problem is, it sounds good at the front end, but are you really going to do that? Here's the thing you can do. You don't have to go out and get a specific business account, Jeff. It doesn't have to be a, quote, business account. It can be a credit card that you only use for business. That's the separation I'm talking about. Now, we can talk about it later. I think there is definitely benefit in setting up an entity like an LLC or a subchapter S corporation. And if you do that, you definitely want separate accounts. But if you're new to this, you just want to keep things separate, you can open up a separate checking account under your personal account. You can open up a separate credit card under your personal account. What I say is just, I'll give you a great example. I deal with other kind of clients all the time. I had a plumber come in one time. And he says, and he did exactly what you said. He said, Ralph, I just throw it on this one because I get points and I can take trips. And that's fantastic. Well, here, fast forward, we're in March. And I said, okay, well, last February, you went and spent money. He goes, Ralph, that was a year ago. I'm like, this is the issue. I said, so here's what I want you to do. I said, you have separate cards. He goes, oh, of course I have separate cards. I go, give me your cards. And he said, what are you going to do with my cards? I said, don't worry, I'm not going to cut them up. Although he probably should have had them cut up because he didn't have any concept of how to manage his money. But anyway, that's another story.
Right.
I said, here's what I want you to do. I took a Sharpie out of my desk and I put a P on one, personal, and I put a B on the other, business. And I said, dude, when you go to check out, pick P or B. And Jeff, it doesn't need to be more complicated than that.
Right.
I would rather have everything being on its own in a particular card than to play the game of mix and match. Because as soon as an IRS agent or a state tax authority sees mix and match, they're going in. It's like blood in the water, dude. They're going to go find whatever they can find. If I'm representing a client and I have clean records and I can say, oh, here's their personal account, here's the business, it puts away a lot of problems. Could you go do what you said? Sure. Could you go say, hey, every expense, this one was personal, this one was business. But I think that's kind of like playing a game that doesn't make sense in the long run, and it doesn't really give you clarity.
So I'm going to go down this rabbit trail because I think this is really fascinating. I think this is very, very helpful. So let's say, Ralph, I've been doing it the wrong way all this time. Am I really, did I screw up everything? Am I going to in trouble? Are they going to knock down my door and take all my money? Like what do you tell people like, Ralph, okay, you've convinced me, but I've been doing it wrong. What do I do now?
Okay, cool. Thing that you need to know about me is I am not a judgment guy. I am not the guy that's going to say to you, you've been doing this all wrong. I'm going to say to you, there's really 3 stages of this. What are we going to do today? Like, how do we change the dynamic? If we've been doing it wrong, and I think there is right and wrong in this, we don't have to judge ourselves what we did in the past. You don't have to go back and recreate the last 10 years of the way you've been doing it incorrectly. But accept the fact that there might be a better way. So I always look at it like, so when I'm counseling a client, I said, where are we today? Here's what this is a real situation. From this point forward, we're going to build a system that works correctly. If for some reason, listen, the chance of you getting audited, if you're not being outrageous, is very small. If we get to that point, we go fix it. But don't sweat that. I would much rather you put the energy into, how do I build the system now? That's the answer to the question, Jeff, because I can help you build a system now. If we have to go worry about the past, we can worry about the past. We may need to do that right now because right now it's time to file your 2025 taxes and you're coming to me. You're like, Ralph, I got a shoebox. I have no idea what happened. We need to go back and figure things out. But that you don't judge yourself. Don't beat yourself up. I'll give you a great example of this, Jeff. When I got into content creating, I had no idea about a lot of this stuff. I just hired a speaking coach. Here's a great example of this. I hired a speaking coach. I have no idea how to do this. When I go back and listen to the stuff I recorded a couple of years ago, I'm like, who in the world ever listened to that? It's horrible. It's terrible. But a lot of content creators never had an accountant. They don't understand the financial side. So just how I'm learning the speaking side, the content side, no one gave you a guidebook as a content creator of how to handle the financial side. So don't beat yourself up. We can fix this. And here's the thing. It's not complicated. What I do is not rocket science. It's really transparency and clarity to make better decisions. So to answer your question, I know I went all the way around the bush and got back to it.
Right.
don't beat yourself up about what happened before. Let's fix where we are today, and let's move forward with confidence, because that's what I really sell. I sell confidence. Confidence in your numbers, confidence in making decisions, and confidence that if the IRS comes, you go, ha, I work with Ralph. I got this figured out.
Got it. So, and even Zach Brown says he's blown away by the line you said. How can you make a decision if you can't see the reality? Which is a great kind of segue into the next question I have is, as creators, a lot of us don't have like a steady paycheck. Like we may have steady clients, but we don't have that steady paycheck. And a lot of time, I kind of want to know, why does a regular creator income make money feel harder to manage than like a traditional paycheck? Even when we're earning great money, a lot of creators I know are easily making six figures, but it's still a struggle because it's that, you have those ebbs and flows, ups and downs of the business, instead of getting like, if somebody goes work, our local company is Eastman. They go to Eastman, they get a paycheck, they get all their taxes taken out, all that kind of stuff, they're done. So what do you tell people who are really feeling like, okay, I'm a creator, but it seems really harder since I left my corporate job and doing this full time than what it used to be?
It is harder because most creators are working 17 jobs.
Yeah.
Because you've got money coming in from coaching. You got money coming in from AdSense. You got money coming in from PayPal and Stripe and this and that and the other things. So rather than the person who gets the W-2 and the pay stub every week, you got 15 different directions of money coming in. That's the hardest part, Jeff. And then it's like you're on the roller coaster. You ever been on a roller coaster and you're like, oh, this is fun. And then you see that hill, you're going up that hill, right? And you know what's coming after that hill, right? Well, content creators go through that every month. You might have a great month. I'm like, I knocked it out of the park. But then next month, it's like crickets.
Right.
So that's why, as a content creator, having a system is 10 times more important than most people working standard weekly or bi-weekly paycheck jobs. Because no one told you when you became a content creator that you also had to become an accountant, that you also had to become a marketing person, that you also had to become a payroll clerk. You own it. You're an independent person. And by doing that, you've got to pull all these things together. And that's not easy. I'll add another complication onto it. When you get money on PayPal, you don't get it all on PayPal. They take their cut. This one takes their cut. And that's another thing about that clarity. If you don't understand that when somebody pays you $2,000 on one of these platforms, you don't have $2,000 to spend. Right. You might have $1,750 or $1,800, whatever that is. And so, and the problem that I've seen with most content creators, they have a really good month and they go buy gear because we love gear. Right? I got a whole studio full of gear. Like my wife is like, she doesn't even ask at this point, Jeff. When she sees the Amazon boxes rolling up, she's just like, dude, I have no idea how much you spend over there. My office is here on my farm, and I built a studio here on my farm. But anyway, we all do that, right? So we have a good month. And then we say, oh yeah, I can buy that microphone. I really wanted that shotgun mic. It works great. I really wanted that. And then the problem is next month, we don't have anything coming in. So that's why the system is so very important, because yes, your income is irregular. Welcome to the life of being a content creator. And the thing is, here's the thing, even if you scale, if you get bigger, more money doesn't solve the problem. Mm-hmm. If the system's broken, all more money does is make it worse.
Yeah, totally agree. I've seen, and it's funny you mentioned that, not having that money. It's almost like when you first working for yourself for the first time, and you're used to your paycheck being, some money going out for, Social Security and stuff, but then it's pretty much double when you do that. When you start working for yourself, you don't realize how much your company covered half of that. And like when my daughter worked for me and I was explaining all that, she's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So yeah, it's a kind of a shock, and you're like, okay, I don't have as much money as I really think I did.
I always tell people, here's a great way to test that, right? Go and if you have young children, take them to the ice cream shop. Give them an ice cream cone and then take it back from them and bite half of it off. Say to them, here's how taxes work. You love that ice cream cone, didn't you? But the government just took half of it. Right. So I concur with what you're saying. A lot of people don't realize that, Jeff, but you got to pay attention to that.
Right. There are a lot of eye-opening things when you first start doing it for yourself. So what do you think really breaks first when creators start doing this? Is it like tracking income, separating the accounts, or planning for taxes? And why do you think that is? Like what is the thing that you see the most that people really, really struggle with as a creator with finances?
I think it's a domino effect. I think not having things separate creates the first problem. When they're not separate, it creates the tracking problem because you have no way of tracking it, which creates the third problem, which is the tax number, because you have no idea how much you're going to owe in tax. So it truly, I can't say to you that there's one key to this, although I go back to what I said earlier. The first step is to separate things, because once you separate them, then you can build a tracking mechanism. And then once you build the tracking mechanisms, I can show you how to pay yourself first, how to pay Uncle Sam first, and then live off of what you actually have. So that's the biggest problem, Jeff, is people don't have that clarity. People are living in that fog. I call it content creators money chaos, because in so many ways it's chaos. And the problem is it just continues on itself because it just gets worse. It doesn't get better. And if you think you're going to bury your head in the sand and pretend like, oh, this is going to go away, it's going to solve itself when I make more money, it's not. It's going to get worse. You need a system. And I feel like I'm harping on that, but it all goes to the system. And the system doesn't have to be 15 steps and, all these things you have to do. It's really a system of understanding where things go, simple income tracking, expense tracking, and then carving out the money where it needs to go. Weekly money check-in, where you actually sit down every week, pick a day, put on your calendar like a doctor's visit. This right. is my money check-in. Now, don't get overwhelmed by that. It can be 15 minutes long. You're going to look at a couple things. You're going to look at what came in this week, what went out. Now, how much do I have to set aside for taxes? And how much do I actually have to spend? Once you start doing that, the fog starts to lift. And that's the biggest thing. When I work with content creators and I talk them through that, they're like, Ralph, I thought this was going to be so complicated. This is super simple. It is. The key is being consistent and always doing that every week that's just what I do. Once you do that, all this stuff really kind of falls into place. And then when you have bad weeks or bad months, you're using those same percentages, it all applies.
So I know a lot of people here are creators, or they're doing a side hustle as a creator and they still have a job, but they want to do their side hustle as their main source of, income if they can grow it to a certain level. So how early should a creator build a money system, even if their income feels like small? Maybe they're just getting affiliate income from, Amazon or whatever, or it's inconsistent like we've talked about before. So how early should a creator build money? And then the second part of that question will be, okay, so how soon should I hire an accountant versus, I can do this myself?
So the answer to the first question is the day before you start creating content is when you set up the money system. And you might say, Ralph, that's bold. If your intention is for this to be a hobby, you still need a money system. If your intention is this to replace your income as a side hustle, you still need a money system. If your intention is for this to be your full-time gig, which I meet a lot of content creators, that's what they're working for, you got to have a money system. Because whether you bring in a little or a lot, you're going to have to account for this, because if people are paying you money or you're spending money, you've got compliance issues from the beginning. So my answer to that is from the very onset of your content creation. And the problem is a lot of people think like that, Jeff. They say, well, Ralph, I'm not too big. I only got little drips and drabs coming in. The problem is, at what point does that change? And now you're struggling because something changed 3 months ago and you're like, I wish I'd set that up ahead of time. So Jeff, the answer is set up your money system at the front end. I'm a believer in start out with the end in mind, because you need that clarity. You need to because here's the other thing, Jeff, as a content creator, you got to ask yourself difficult questions. What is working? What's not working? If your goal is to make money to replace income, if you don't have any numbers, if you don't have a system to do that, how can you ever make that decision? It's virtually impossible.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about creating a money system in a little bit, but I wanted to, Ralph's got a great, actual giveaway for our audience. And you guys want to make sure you get this. It's the contentcreatorsaccountant.com/money. It's a free PDF guide that kind of walks you through some of this stuff in setting up this system if you haven't done it already. And I'll tell you what, folks, one of the things that I struggled with, and I had a bad accountant when I first started who made me feel like I was an idiot. And I was an idiot when it comes to finances. And it was a struggle. I had a lot of anxiety about it. But I wish I would have had something like this before I got as far as I did down my creator journey. So contentcreatorsaccountant.com ralph.com/money. It's free from Ralph. Make sure you guys go check that out because it's a great resource for you guys. But Ralph, there's so much about this, and it is a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. I remember being waking up in a sweat going, oh, the IRS is coming. And I had a bunch of issues. I overpaid. They owed me like $20,000 and it took like 3 years to get it back. They'll take your money really fast. Getting it back's a little bit different story. So if someone feels behind or messy in their finances, how do you help them reset without feeling that overwhelmed or ashamed? Like I just said, like what do they need to do? Like, what's the first step to kind of get out of the mess that they feel like they're in?
And I feel bad for you because so many people tell me what you just said. I hired an accountant and he made me feel like an idiot, Ralph, because I was doing everything wrong. My business is relationships. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help you for me to say to you, you're an idiot. You didn't know how to do this. I'm just assuming that you didn't know how to do this because you didn't go to school and get your MBA and spend 30 years doing it. That's okay. The thing is, most of the time, I think the problem that you ran into is you hired the wrong person. So hire the person that's going to talk to you like a human being. Hire the person that's going to talk to you like you don't know it, but I can explain it to you. One of the biggest compliments I've ever received from a client is they said to me, Ralph, you explain it in ways that don't make me feel stupid. It's all about the relationship, Jeff, and it's finding that person that clicks with you. Now, I think because I work in the content creator realm, I'm a great person to do that with. And just, I'm not trying to plug myself here, but I can help anybody here. I actually offer a free 15-minute discovery call. You can go right to my website and schedule that because I want to get to know you. I want to get to know what you're doing. And let's see if it's a good fit. Because if it's a good fit, it all comes down to that relationship, Jeff.
Right.
And there's no judgment here because listen, just like I'm taking speaking courses, I had no idea how to speak.
Right.
If you don't know money, why should I judge you for not knowing money? But you have to make the decision like, okay, I know there's a problem here. There are things that I don't know that I need to know. So you've got to invest in time and doing that. And listen, here's another thing I've noticed. A lot of content creators are scared to spend money. I get it. I don't like to spend money either. But what they don't think about is how much they're losing in creativity and stress. Like you said, you were in a cold sweat. You were worried about it. How much did that take away from your ability to be creative? If you're constantly worrying about the knock at the door, who's coming next? How am I going to pay my bills? The stress of that. If you could live in peace and have harmony and joy and still be successful, spend a couple dollars and go find. I'm not saying you have to hire a full-time accountant.
Right.
Let me be clear about that. You don't have to do that. I think sitting down with somebody like me, or if you're comfortable with somebody else, and setting up a system. I think that the more you talk to them, the better. Like a lot of my clients are monthly clients where I set up a set of accounting services and we do it for you, which a lot of content creators love that because they're like, oh, I just pay you, Ralph, and you handle it. And I'm like, yes. They're like, oh, where do I sign? I'm like, right here. I'll send you a DocuSign. We'll have a Zoom meeting. We'll talk once a month. So find the person that you're comfortable with. Find the person that shows you ways to do things that you understand. But don't be afraid to spend a couple bucks because I'm going to tell you right now, you were talking a little bit about you were so surprised to have to pay that big tax bill.
Right.
One of the things you were talking about is what's called self-employment tax. And I don't really want to go down a deep wormhole, but I meet creators all the time that are paying more tax than they need to. I was working with a creator a couple of weeks ago. I looked at his tax return. I said, I can save you $9,000 right now. Are you interested? He goes, dude, where do I sign?
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't like I had some magic mystery ball and I was able to solve this. It's a very simple thing. Had he not spent time and done a consultation with me after the discovery call, he would have lost another $9,000. Spent a couple $100s with me to set up a discovery call. Now he's going to end up being a monthly client because he's like, Ralph, I can't do this. This is too complicated. It's overwhelming. And I get that, but you don't have to start there. You can start by talking with somebody to help you build a system. And then once you build the system, I'll give you a great example of this, Jeff. I do 4 different shows. I don't do all my own production work because I don't have time to do it. So I hired a company that does that. They handle that for me. It's money well spent to me. The cost benefit as an accountant, I look at cost benefit. For me to go learn, I use Descript. I do all these other things. I post shorts. I don't have time, nor do I have the skill set to do that. So I go and hire somebody to do that. And I'm going to encourage content creators, go hire somebody that can help you create the system and help you find that time. You still need to own this. You still need to have that weekly check-in. How are things going? But if you don't have to own it, if you don't have to manage it, somebody just handles it for you, there's a lot of peace in that. And it's not as expensive as you would think.
So one of the things I wanted to, what should somebody look for when they are looking for somebody to help them with their finances? If they want to go to an accountant, I had that bad experience. You mentioned that a lot of people come to you and they talk about kind of the same thing. What do you need to look for? Because there's a lot of, flim flam artists out there that aren't, they're just wanting to take your money. They're there at Walmart where you can just file your taxes. Because a lot of times the time we go as creators, because we don't have a lot of spare time, is like when something bad's happened or we're in a panic or, oh my gosh, it's tomorrow, we've got to file our taxes. So what should we look for when we go, okay, it's time to be serious. This is making money. This is a real business. What do I need to look for in an accountant or a financial advisor?
Number one thing, licensing and credentials. I have a license with the state of Delaware to practice public accounting. I'm not some tax guy that took a 6 weeks tax course at one of the big box stores. And I'm not criticizing these people. If you've got a very simple tax return, those people are fine. If you're a content creator, you don't have a very simple tax return. So first thing, look for somebody that's credentialed. Second thing, look at their reviews. Go see what people are saying about them. Third thing, look for somebody that understands your industry. That's why I jumped into this content creators accountant industry, because I understand the industry. Fourth thing is find somebody that can communicate. One of the main things I see people complaining about is I send my stuff to my accountant and I never hear from them. Then all of a sudden they call me a week or two before tax deadline and said, hey, Jeff, are we going to get your stuff? And you're like, dude, I sent it to you 3 months ago. What's going on? Oh, yeah. If they can't communicate with you, run the other direction. While you're talking about flim flam artists, and do not go to Dr. Google or to Chat GPT or one of those and say, I want you to be my accountant. What do I need to do? That's a bad plan. Because there's a lot of people out there selling snake oil about, I can set up, you pay no taxes, you can write off everything, you write off your house, write off your kids. I mean, the stuff that they promise is just absolutely ridiculous. But so pay attention to who you're hiring and go and talk to other content creators. Who are they working with? I'll give you an example. Just this week, I had a guy call me and says, Ralph, I'm in trouble with the IRS. Now, he should have called me 2 years ago. And we had a simple 1 hour call. We got into his IRS account. And at the end of the call, he says, Ralph, he says, you don't realize how much pressure you just relieved from me. And he says, if I'd have known it would have been this simple, I would have done this 2 years ago and not stressed about this. Now, here's a guy that had an accountant, had a bookkeeper, but nobody took the time to explain to him where the problems were. And I said, dude, I can save you $9,000. Why didn't your accountant mention this? Well, you know what? I don't really hear from him. That's a problem.
Yeah. Those are all great points. And so once again, don't forget about Ralph's amazing money system handout that he's got. You can find it at contentcreatorsaccountant.com/money. I want to ask you guys in the audience, if you had to guess what percentage of your income is going to taxes right now. Do you know? Is it 10 to 15%? Is it 20 to 25%? 30% more than that? Or maybe you have no idea. It's really fascinating as entrepreneurs talk so much about making money, the ROI, the cost analysis, all that kind of stuff, and we really don't know what we're paying in our taxes. So I would love to know if you guys have an idea or not. Let me know wherever you're watching from, because we're going to be talking now about creating this money system that Ralph has been teasing a little bit about this. And this is stuff that, creators can actually start this week. So Ralph, walk us through the core pieces of the creator money system, like the separation you've already talked about, income tracking, and the tax vault, which we really haven't talked about. So why do those three fix so many problems at once?
It's all about the system. So the first part of the system is, number one, separate your money. That's the basic, that is the gold standard of how you get started. Second thing, you're building a tax vault. Let me explain what that means. So when you do that weekly money meeting, you see how much came in, and then you have a percentage. You were alluding to this a second ago, Jeff. A percentage that automatically, before anything else happens, goes off to what I call the tax vault. Now, it's nothing complicated. I'm not asking you to go put a storage unit on your property and call it the tax vault.
Right.
It can be a simple savings account, a separate account where every week you take a percentage. Now we can talk about how you get to that percentage. I'll give you the big picture first. Create that tax vault and carve that out, because now all of a sudden you don't have that stress anymore. That money is set aside. So what you have left is the money that you can actually spend. Once you do that, it's so eye-opening, because you're like, I'm not worried about tax day anymore. I'm not worried about the what ifs. Now I can make clear decisions because I actually see what I have to live on. I see what I can spend. I can see what bills I need to pay, and you can make decisions when you do that. But that's the big piece of it. And this isn't complicated. Like I said, this is really simple. Look at your tracking, carve out the tax point. The rest of it remains in the regular checking account, however you want to do that. That's what you can actually spend and live on. Once you do that, and that's how simple the system is. It's really that simple. But 90% of people who are struggling with this don't have that basic system. So that's really where it starts, Jeff.
So, yeah. So for me, have you read the book Profit First? Have you read that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of that. And what's interesting about that, Jeff, is I went to school to be an accountant. My bachelor's degree is in accounting, and my master's degree. We never learned that in accounting school. And it wasn't until like 3 or 4 years ago that people have really been leaning on that now. It's perfect, because then, again, you start off with the end in mind. I don't want to interrupt you, but no, I think that's huge. And a lot of people don't get that, but that's exactly what I'm talking about, is you're intentional in your money decisions from the very front end of that. So yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yes. So what I have done, and this makes it really easy. I know a lot of people use QuickBooks, which I have such a love-hate, and more of a hate thing with QuickBooks. But one of the things, because I use QuickBooks Money and a lot of money comes into that account, it's really easy. I can create envelopes, is what they call them, and you can actually take that profit first kind of idea and put money into a separate little savings account, which actually gives you more, you higher interest rate. And you can also do the same with that tax money that you had mentioned, doing the tax vault. So I can do it all electronically, super easily. I don't have to put cash in envelopes like somebody always talks about. We know, but it really makes it easy. And for all of QuickBooks' faults, that kind of thing inside of QuickBooks Money is really, really cool. That I can, like, as soon as I get paid and I make a paycheck, and I'll say, okay, this money is profit, this money is for taxes, and I'm done. And that vault grows throughout the year, and then I can use it to pay taxes at the end.
And actually, I just made a relationship with a bank that offers that service too.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm able to offer my customers and clients a bank that you can actually create up to 80 separate sub-accounts in your bank account app. And then you can do exactly that. It was all built under that model of that. So when money comes in, you have your operating checking account. You have another one we didn't really talk about. You could have a gear fund. You could have whatever fund you want, but you're carving those things out, and you're also carving out what you need to live on, because that's another big problem for content creators. You got that stress of the rent's coming due, or the mortgage, or the car payment,
right? And
you're grabbing money out of wherever you can find it because you got to spend it. But the problem is when you do that, then all of a sudden everything gets muddied up and you're back in that fog again. Well, if you carve out your pay at the front end, here's what because that's the thing a lot of content creators don't think about. All of a sudden now, how about medical insurance?
Right.
How about retirement plan? How about all those things? It's great. You want to be your own boss. You want to be an independent content creator. That's great, but there's a lot that goes into that. So if we can build a system from the front end to carve out those pieces so that stuff's handled, I just think that's such a huge thing, Jeff. And the thing is, the tools are just right there for you now. They're not expensive and they're simple. You just have to set them up.
So how do creators decide what percentage to move into that tax vault if their income fluctuates, month to month? Sometimes, especially with affiliate stuff. I know a lot of my friends get money in from affiliates, like from Amazon or whatever, and that's based off of sales, and it just kind of, it can really vary. So how do you know what to take and put in that tax vault?
Yeah, and that's month ago sales too, because it's not even what happened last week. This is like 3 months ago, you're finally getting paid for something. You have to start somewhere. When I'm counseling clients, I say, let's take a look at your tax return from last year. What was your federal tax percentage? Now, I know you're in Texas, so you don't pay state income tax, but let's just keep it simple. What was the federal tax rate that you paid? Was it 20%? Was it 25%? Again, this depends, because you could have an S Corp, you could have an LLC, ways to shelter some of that. Right. Let's start there. What was your tax obligation from last year? Let's use a simple example, 25%. I think that's a good place to start. Now, if all of a sudden during the year, you're hitting home runs every week, you might have to push that up a little bit. The thing is, once you put the money, and I love what you said. You said, I had paid all this money to IRS, I ended up getting it back. It took 3 years to get it.
Right.
The cool thing about the tax vault is that money's yours. So if things go down at the end of the year or something like that, your money's still there. It's not gone. It's growing interest. It's your buffer. So I would rather somebody put a higher percentage at the front end and not have the surprise Gomer pile come April 15th, because that's never fun. I deal with I got to make those calls sometimes, Jeff. I got to get on the phone with somebody and say, hey, Jeff, I just finished your taxes. And they're like, oh, great. How good is it? I'm like, you owe 10 grand, Jeff. And you're like, what in the world? How did that happen?
Yeah.
I'm going to prevent that, because if we had that conversation, you'd be like, oh, that's cool. Dude, I got 12 grand over here in the tax vault. And you're like, bonus. Everything's great. So pick a higher percentage at the front end. Pick something. I think if you want me to give you I should probably have said this. I am not giving you advice on your particular situation. I can't do that. But from a basic standpoint, I think 25% is a pretty good number. Now, if you've got state taxes, add to that. I'm in Delaware. Delaware state taxes go up to like 8%. So I'm going to do 25 plus 8. If you don't have an entity or something like that, you got to worry about that self-employment tax. Let me drop a bomb on you. Self-employment tax is 15.2%. That's why this multiplies so fast. So think about my 25 at the front, add another 15. What are we at? 40? And then if you got a state tax, 48% potentially. But know your situation. But look at last year's taxes. And then if things are going up, push that up a little bit. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons, other than some protection that I got when I first started my company all those years ago, that I was an S Corp. I had partners and all sorts of things, but the S Corp has saved my bacon a lot of times with some of that, self-employment tax, and then some of the liability that you have. I know a lot of creators, when they first start, they're just doing self-employment, and talk to somebody like Ralph and look at an LLC, an S Corp, or doing an S Corp that acts like an LLC, all that kind of stuff. You need to talk to somebody, because it can save you significant amount of money if you set up your entity the right way.
So, and we do that, Jeff, just to let you know, we do set up entities, and it depends on your situation. I might put you into one entity. Here's the thing is different about me. I'm going to talk to you and talk through what you're going to do. Let's get all the information, because if you go out there on Reddit or something like that and say, you got to be an S Corp. Right. I've seen so many people set up things that were just completely backwards, and then I got to go back and fix them. And it doesn't cost a lot to do it at the front end. Just get it right from the beginning.
So this is a rabbit trail, but when you were talking about setting up an S Corp, you see a lot of these companies advertising, hey, set it up in Delaware or set it up in this state because of, I don't know. Is that a real thing? Should you think about setting up a entity in another state to save money, or is that for the big wigs like Intel and all that kind of stuff?
I'm going to answer the question by saying yes and no.
Okay.
Is it a real thing? Yes. Because in some states, you don't have to disclose who the owners of a company are.
Got it.
So one of the things, and I'm not an attorney, I don't play one on TV, but one of the legal sides of this is by setting up an entity, you're doing what's called a corporate veil. You're creating a screen between you and the business. Some states allow you to hide behind that corporate veil. So we act as, I'll go into weeds here for a second. If we set up an entity for somebody, we are the registered agent. So basically what that means is when you set up an artificial entity, an LLC or an S Corp, because it's not a person, it has to have an agent that represents it. Well, if you go on to the Delaware Division of Corporations and look up, I'm just going to say Jeff C, Inc.
Right.
If we set that up, the only thing you're going to see, now I would definitely not advise you to use your name, because what's the point of doing that? But let's just say you do.
Right.
The only thing they're going to see is my name and my address. So you've kept that corporate veil. Now, some states don't allow you to do that. Now, I can't speak to all 50 states.
Got it.
We set up a lot of Delaware corporations because Delaware has great corporate tax law. But to be honest with you, from a practical standpoint, unless you've got 1,000 shareholders and you're worried about some kind of minority stockholder revolt, you're never going to use those things. So again, I'm not giving legal advice, but I don't know that it really matters. We set up Delaware entities because that's where we are. The nice thing about a Delaware entity is I can work with it in all the different states. And that's, we'll go down a little bit of a wormhole. People don't know this. Your entity is at the state level. So if you set up an entity in Texas, you're covered in Texas. But if you do business in Oklahoma, guess what? Your entity doesn't transfer to Oklahoma. A lot of people don't know that. You may, and it depends. Again, we're doing the intellectual property, but if you have a physical presence in another state, you may need to set up an entity in that state or do something that's called a foreign entity registration. So if you came to me, Jeff, and you said, Ralph, you know where I'm at, I'm in Texas, I would say, great, here's what I would do. I would set up a Delaware entity for you, and then I would file what's called foreign status registration in the state of Texas. So then you have the benefit of the Delaware courts and you have the registration in the state of Texas. Does it cost a little more? Yeah. You're going to pay an annual franchise tax. That's what the states charge for the benefit of having it. But you have so much more protection by doing that, Jeff. But a lot of people don't know that. They just assume, well, if I want to work in all 50 states, I just need one thing. And it's funny. A lot of people think they just go to the IRS and get an EIN number, which is an employer identification number, and now they got an LLC. And no, you don't. You've got a piece of paper that has a number on it and a name, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. See, this is why, folks, why you need people like Ralph to help you get through this stuff, because I would not even know that. I just asked that question kind of off the cuff, and I'm like, okay, didn't know any of that. So that's why it's so important to find a advisor and a CPA that you can trust, because it is super important when you're setting all this stuff up. So, Ralph, we mentioned like a weekly check-in money meeting. It's a lot more effective than like trying to get serious about finances like once a year at, in April or tax time. So what can we do? Why is that so important? And how much time do you estimate like a simple weekly money meeting for yourself is?
It is the most important thing you'll do in your financial side of content creation, because if you wait, you're not going to do it. Let's just be honest. Most of us are not going to do it. We're just going to put it off. Oh, I'll get to that. That's a good thing to do in September. Oh, that's a good thing to do in November. Oh, during the holidays, I'll catch up. Nobody does that. So create that weekly meeting. And here's the best part, Jeff, 15 minutes. That's all you need. And you need to ask yourself 3 simple questions. What came in? What went out? How much have I carved out into the separate pieces? And that's really your money meeting. Because once you do those things, then you can decide, oh, I've got this gear purchase I want to do. Or maybe you want to hire a VA. Maybe you want to hire an editor. How can you possibly make those decisions if you don't know where you stand? And so many content, and I'm not going to say just content creators, so many small business people are flying by what's in the bank account. If they've got money in their bank account, they're like, hey, I'm doing great. What's in your bank account doesn't tell me anything. Yeah. I need to know what is spoken for, what's on the horizon, because that's the thing that sinks small business people is cash flow. You might have money coming in, but if you don't manage the cash flow, and you can't manage cash flow after the fact, this is an intentional thing. And that's why I say take 15 minutes, create the system ahead of time. Then 15 minutes, you check a couple of basic, I guess in fancy words, KPIs. That's what you're looking at. Here are my key everybody in content creation does this already, don't we? We look at, how many downloads did I have? How many comments did I have on YouTube? How many people are looking at my TikToks and my Reels? You're already doing it. I'm just saying, do this for your money. I know. I tell you what, dude, I look at my downloads. I got a problem. Like I got an addiction to the download count. I need to stop.
Yeah.
But if a content creator is thinking, well, Ralph, this is going to take all my time. No, it's not. 15 minutes a week. Yeah. But make it a holy appointment. In other words, that is on your calendar, no matter what happens. So pick a time, be intentional about picking a time. This is what I'm going to do. Have a set of books. Now, you don't have to go get QuickBooks. I like QuickBooks. It's got its positives and its negatives. Right. I think having a system is better, but a system that you're going to actually use is better than all of those things. If you've got an envelope system, my grandparents used to use an envelope system. Right. I'm totally cool with that. It keeps you square. That's fine. If you like spreadsheets, I hate spreadsheets. You want to use spreadsheets? I'm cool with that. If you want to use Wave or QuickBooks Online, you can use all kinds of apps. I don't care. Pick something you're going to use and pick something you're going to be consistent in managing every single week. Because if you wait to the end of the month, you're not going to do it. If you wait to the end of the quarter, you're not going to do it. And then you're going to be in Ralph's office in March. And I'm saying, you just got a 1099K form from PayPal, says you made $120,000 last year, Jeff. Do you have any expenses for that, Jeff? And you're like, dude, yeah, I think I do. And here's another problem, Jeff. You didn't ask me about this, but I'm going to go here. A lot of people think that credit card statement or that bank statement is enough evidence. It's not. Examiners want to see a receipt. Bigger than that, they want to see a receipt that has information on it. What was it for? Why did you spend it? You need to have a story. All of us as content creators are becoming good storytellers. got to think the same way with your finances. If you just give an examiner your credit card statement and say, oh yeah, well, these are all the things I paid for, they're going to say to you, that's great. Give me the receipts. And let's just say by chance you kept the receipts. If you don't have a narrative on that receipt, you're going to have no way of knowing. So here's a big pro tax tip. Whenever you spend money, everybody carries these phones with them in their hands all the time, now, right? Write on the receipt where you were, who were you with, and what it was for, and take a picture of it with your phone. That's an accounting system. Now I'm going to encourage you to go get some software and add those things in. There's money feeds that you can, or bank feeds you can use with some of these, but even that. And then just go create a simple cloud drawer system. Here's my January folder, my February folder. Again, you see what I'm doing here, Jeff? It's not complicated, but it starts in that one little thing, because one little thing adds to another little thing and adds to another little thing. A lot of people just got back from PodFest. So one of the things I say to people is, how much did you spend at PodFest? Oh, I don't know. I'll get my credit card statement at the end of the month. Okay. You're not going to look at it. So a year from now, when your accountant says, how much did you spend at PodFest, or how much you spend in travel? Like, I don't know. Let me go figure it out. Well, if you're taking pictures of those things as you go, you can say, oh, I know. Oh, I had lunch with Jeff, had a great time. We did this, we did that. I took an Uber from the airport. I got the receipt. I've got a picture of it. I got the who I was with, the why I was there, and what this is for. That is the key. That is the beautiful part of having a system and doing it day in and day out, week in and week out.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of those, like QuickBooks even has apps that will actually attach those pictures. Now, I always keep it on my phone and then also do another picture for the QuickBooks, because sometimes those apps can get a little funky and like your stuff I'm scared that it's going to disappear. So I always take a photo and then also attach it to it, and it kind of adds it to your accounting software. A lot of those do that as well. Real quickly, I want to do a final shout out to our sponsors. If you want to know how we're doing this amazing show, you can find out more at ecamm.com/Jeff. You can save 15% by using code Jeff15 in your checkout. And they've got an amazing thing coming up. It's the Leap into Video about camera confidence coming up next week. You can find out more about that at leap.ecamm.com. Make sure to go check that out. Tell them Jeff sent you. We really do thank Ecamm for sponsoring this show. They've got amazing stuff right now in beta that I can't wait to share with you. You just need to go check it out. If you haven't gone to their Facebook group, I don't know if I can say it yet because it's still in beta, but it's very, very cool. So make sure you go check Ecamm out. It's amazing software, amazing group of people over there. All right, Ralph, as we wrap up, I want to make sure people also know about the contentcreatorsaccountant.com/money. We've been talking about this money system that you have put together. This is a great PDF that you can download for free at contentcreatorsaccountant.com/money, which helps you get this stuff set up and really, really helpful for creators when you are first getting started, or even if you've not been doing money right for a long time, like some of us, which will not be named. Last little question I have for the audience is, if your income dipped next month, if it went down, would you feel prepared or panicked? Let us know down below wherever you're watching from. Would you be prepared, a little nervous, or would you be full on, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm going to go move to Mexico or a place where I can hide if your income dipped. So let us know what you think. So one of the things, Ralph, and it's about sleeping better at night. You've given us a lot of tips to this, and does make a difference. And you mentioned being creative and how that anxiety can really affect you, which is very, very true, because I've been in those shoes before. So what do you think changes emotionally for creators once they actually know what they can safely spend each month? You mentioned like gear you can buy, stuff like that, but like what have you seen from clients who've come in who've kind of gone through your system that, okay, the feelings they have afterwards when they kind of get this plan in place?
Well, because what we're really talking about, Jeff, is fear of the unknown. If you don't know what's going on in your business, and every content creator is in business, I'll start by saying that. Every content creator is in business. I don't care whether you're a hobbyist or this is your full-time gig. If you don't know what's going on in your business, you live in a constant state of fear. You have fear about what's going to happen. Like you just talked about, what do I do next month if the income's lower? I have fear about what's going to happen at tax time. I have fear about what if I get audited? I have fear about how am I going to feed my children? How am I going to pay my mortgage? So by creating a system, you're breaking down the fear, which leads to confidence. And that's the difference, is when you're confident in the decisions. I can't promise you that you're going to have steady income. I can't promise you that all the different sources of income are always going to be steady and all those sort of things. But what I can promise you is you have a system You know what to expect. And then you can live in a sense of freedom without fear, because that's really what we're talking about, Jeff. It's fear. It's that fear of the unknown. And when you live in fear, think about it yourself. If you're trying to be creative, you're trying to think of, I got this great show planned. And the whole time you're thinking, man, I got $12 in my bank account. Right. How am I going to make this work? And I know it's tax time. And I know the accountant's fixing to call me and say, you owe money because I've been taking money all year, but I haven't put a nickel aside. That's fear, dude. And when you're living in that, you can't sleep at night. Your health gets affected. That's what I've seen clients go through. I've seen clients have heart conditions, not physically heart, but being tore up that they can't accomplish anything because they're constantly living in that fear of the unknown. They're living in fog. So when you break the fog, it might not be a great picture you see at first, Jeff. It might be a train wreck. It might be a mess. You might be spending, I call subscriptions death by 1,000 cuts. Right. You might be in that case. Like, I don't know how many more AI tools I can possibly buy, but like, I think my credit card company said, is like, is this really you? Because you already have 15 of these. You want another one?
Yeah.
But that, again, it comes down to knowledge, knowing what's going out, knowing what's coming in. Once you know that, then you can make decisions. Because right now you're making decisions in the dark. It's like I put a blindfold around you and said, hey, go do content creation with a blindfold. You wouldn't know what to push, what to do.
Right.
And that affects you in so many ways. It tears up your relationships. Here's the thing. We didn't talk about this today, but the number one thing that destroys relationships is money discussions. And if you've got stress over money, it's going to affect your relationship with your friends. It's going to affect your relationship with your spouse, whatever those things look like. It's going to do that. Yeah. So if we can stop that, trust me on this. In 30 days, you will feel completely different.
Yeah, it's the big, and for me, because I talk about creativity all the time, it was probably one of the biggest creativity killers with that anxiety of like, okay, I want to do this, but I've got to go, like, I hate doing this stuff. And that's why I love talking to people like Ralph and having people that I can hire like Ralph, because it makes a huge difference in allowing me to be more creative. Ralph, this kind of final question I want to ask you is, like, from all the people you've seen, all the creators that have come in that need help, like, what's one financial habit you see that the creators kind of resist at first, but later say that's changed everything for them?
I think the biggest one is tracking, because most content creators are like, I don't want anybody knowing what I'm doing. Right. Because they don't want the realization of what they're really spending. That's the problem. Like, they don't get, like, each subscription adds up. Each piece of gear adds up. And once they start tracking that, then they can make better decisions. You're like, wow, like I had no clue that I had all these subscriptions. I don't even use half of this stuff, Ralph, but I've set up I paid for a year in advance because it gave me a special deal. Well, the problem is then those things renew on their own and you got another year you're not using. So it's having that ability. So tracking is the big thing there, Jeff. That's what people say to me all the time. Is like, Ralph, I had no idea. I had no idea that I was only making 80 cents on the dollar when I'm going through this platform. I had no idea about that. There's better ways to do it. Yeah. So when you have that information, then you can make intentional decisions. That's when you can be dynamic and really go somewhere with your content creation and pay your bills and live a joyful life. That's the key to this whole thing.
Awesome. Well, Ralph, this has been amazing. And once again, you guys, make sure you guys go check out his giveaway that you can go download at contentcreatorsaccountant.com/money. Ralph, as we wrap up, tell people where they can find you, all the podcasts that you have. The floor, my friend, is now yours.
So I do so many things. The easiest way to find me is at askralph.com. It's really that simple, askralph.com. You can find all my content there. If you want to reach out to me, you can go there and do that. If you want to schedule a 15-minute discovery call with me, you can go there and do that. So I encourage you to do that. Listen, I'm a believer in the community. I think content creators are one of the best communities I've ever seen. And just reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you. But check it all out at askralph.com. The Content Creators Accountant is a weekly show. I do it both in audio and video. I think we're on episode 13 or 14. I can't remember exactly, but go check it out. And I'm confident you're going to find value in that. And reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you. I'm not trying to make a big dollar from you. I want to help you, because when I help you, it just builds community and it builds success for all of us. Because when you grow to that point that you need somebody like me, then you're like, oh, I go to Ralph. He got taken care of.
Yeah. This has been amazing. You know, you guys, it's a little at first like ripping off a Band-Aid. It may hurt at the beginning, but then it starts to heal and then it does better than it's ever before. So make sure you guys go check all the stuff out at askralph.com. He is amazing. And folks, thank you guys for watching today. Thank you, Zach Brown, Thank you, Mr. Rich Graham, and all the people who watched and left comments today. We really appreciate you. Thank you for Ecamm, who helps actually sponsor the show. You can find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.